Welcome to Stay in Touch, the podcast that unpacks the complexities of financial plannings and programs. Join us as we explore the options available to you to have a better financial future. I'm your host, Mariana Villarreal, and each week I'll have an expert in the field that is going to give you information and knowledge to help you plan the best future that you can. Whether you're a small business owner, head of household, or just a little bit curious, Stay in Touch is here to empower and educate our listeners by debunking some myths, some misinformation, and we will cover a wide range of information for you to have a better plan for your future. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi guys, welcome back to Staying in Touch. I'm your host, Mariana Villarreal, and today we're going to take it a little bit different, a different route, more towards the small businesses that are listening to our podcast every week. I want to give you guys a little bit more insight on something that in today's age might seem old school, but it's definitely still in school. So today we have a very special guest, Brian Barber. He is the general manager for La Raza en la Mega. It's a local radio station here in the state of Georgia, targeting more Atlanta and the surrounding counties. And he's actually native to Miami, Florida. He's been in the industry for over 30 years. And so I first want to welcome you and thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy, but I think this is a very special topic because, sometimes small businesses don't know the impact of radio station. We think, everybody kind of listens to iTunes and, Spotify, Pandora, but there's still a very, very big group of people that go to radio stations or listen to radio stations for news, their favorite songs, and then just information, period.
Correct.
So why should small businesses consider investing into radio station in today's digital era?
Well, I think the importance of radio is that it's local. And then you have DJs and on-air personalities. We call them, the community calls them DJs, we can also call them on-air personalities. They identify with the people in the community. And I think when you're a local station, your whole focus is what affects them. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to connect with the community, which I think both La Raza and Omega do, and they're two different Hispanic stations. We've been in the market might have said since for 20 years. I've been in the business for over 30. But here in Atlanta, we've been able on both stations, one to connect mostly with the Mexican market, with La Raza, and with Omega more the Caribbean and South American community. So we're able to reach a pretty broad range of Hispanics that have come to the market. But I think locally, your connection you're able to make. Some of the other ways to listen to music can't do that. And so I think and we're able to not only be on a terrestrial signal, but we're also able to stream, be on our app and reach people that way too. But the local part's important because we talk about what affects the Hispanic here locally and not just something that goes on a national basis, and we can do that too. But there's that connection because we're local. Right, and I think when it comes to radio stations, they're also very involved in the community, like with community events. And what I've seen us, being, I guess if you could say, part of your customer base, because we do invest, In Touch Financial Group invest yearly into La Raza, because we do service a lot of the Hispanic community. What I've seen is one of the benefits is the involvement that radio stations have with the local community, and I think that's one of the benefits. What are some more benefits that a small business owner could see in investing into advertisement in radio stations? Like I said earlier, helping them connect directly to the community versus just running a spot. You touched on, Mariana, some of the things we're involved with. We do a lot of event marketing as well, plus what we have on the radio stations on La Raza and Omega here in Atlanta. But when you can do events that are impactful, and you can do events where the people can do one-on-one abilities to reach that customer base, they might have heard their message on the air in any which way. It could be through a program, could be through a commercial, could be that on-air personality endorsing their product. But at the events we do 2 large events. We do La Raza Fest in May and Fiesta Mexicana in September. And those events have pretty much been since the inception of the station, which started in April of 2004. That gives that client the ability to connect one-on-one. And a lot of times these events have thousands of people that show up. So it's that ability to reach those people in a more personal way versus just the on-air advertising.
Yeah, and so obviously radio stations, enhance brand recognition. So, like you said, there's 2 kind of categories that I've kind of like picked up being one of your clients is, there's spots where it's like you're the ones that play all the time. Like, I personally listen to some radio stations, and so you kind of already know their jingles because of how much, like, zero rest, spell it forwards or backwards, that one, just from being, like, when I was little and listening to the radio, it stuck with me. So if I ever need a carpet cleaner, I know who I'm calling, so with on the spots of, like, the 30 seconds, and I'm guessing, like, the investment will pay off on repetition.
Right.
And then on live personnel, like the DJs on a morning show promoting your business, they kind of do it more on the personal side.
Right.
And it's more now a recommendation, like so-and-so, in our case, Leslie, recommends you to In Touch Financial Group for your life insurance and health insurance needs.
Right.
So when we came on board with La Raza, you guys were kind of surprised, like, like insurance? Because you're used to more like tangible items where people can go and buy. Do you see an importance in what In Touch Financial Group does that it benefits the listeners, your listeners?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times when advertisers come to us, and because Atlanta's considered an emerging Hispanic market, it's not a mature Hispanic market. This all started in the building of the Olympic venues in 1996, and that's when the market really took off. I came in 2004, just 8 years later, and the market was already here, but there was just so much opportunity to grow that market. So like with In Touch, those were services that weren't being presented before, that maybe in the general market, that was there for decades. But in this market, and especially with an audience that has come maybe directly from their country, everything is fresh and new. So with insurance, that's something maybe they didn't have to deal with in their own country. Now they're being introduced to something. And we understand that a lot of times when an advertiser comes to us, like In Touch, there has to be an educational process that goes on. So it's not just advertising your company, but it's understanding what your company can provide. And that's when we sort of do maybe a little bit different than the general market would do. When we understand who we're talking to help the customer get the results. But there has to be that educational process. Then the phones will start to ring and the clients will come.
Yeah, because our name doesn't really say what we do. In Touch Financial, you hear financial, you're like, okay, is it money? Like, are they going to help me with something? Actually, yeah. We'll help you save a lot of money on, health insurance, but also prepare you for your future with life insurance products that, unfortunately, sometimes the Hispanic market doesn't know that is available.
Right.
And so, coming on to La Raza and Omega and speaking a little bit more about how life insurance can, one, protect your family from the unexpected, which is what original life insurance is, but now it also protects our families, our Hispanic families, with, in case of an illness or something that prevents them from working, which, everybody that comes from a different country, they're looking to prepare and support their family. So if they can't, then, it goes into that. But for our small business owners, what is the average cost of radio advertisement? And how would you compare that to other advertising mediums? Because everybody wants to do digital.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the ranges that you would?
It really all depends on what a client wants to do. It can be a one-man shop. It can be a client that's got 30 locations. It's all different in what your goals are. So there's not necessarily a price. We really try to analyze the needs. Even with some of the, say, endorsement, there is a lot of social media involved in that as well. You incorporate it all together. And I think it all works together. It's like the event marketing we do, the spot radio we do, shows that we do as well. I'm visible in the market all day long. I send my promotions team out in the community. We could be in Smyrna, we could be in Lawrenceville, we could be in Gainesville, we could be in Conyers. And we're in some way touching the community that way. And there's opportunities for clients to be part of that. So it just depends on what a client wants to achieve, what they want to do. It's like anything, it's like investing. It's not an instant cure. You're going to invest in the market and you're going to see, so you invest in the S&P, you're going to see throughout the years and so forth, your true returns. But if you're trying to put it in one day and then see what it's going to be worth tomorrow, it's going to be down a little bit. But overall, you're going to win. You're going to win if you understand that. And I think advertising, the key in all of it is, what's your message? Does it resonate with the community? Does it make the community respond? If it doesn't, then maybe the message needs to be tweaked a little bit, altered. And if not, then you're maybe not missing, or sometimes you're ahead of the market. You're maybe too soon for what their wants are. You put it out there, and it might be 6 months down the road where it will really start to happen. And that's the hard part, because the client wants to see results right away. But it's a new product that's been introduced, but they haven't understood it yet, the importance. And once they do, then it takes off. But a lot of times people will pull, and then they'll regret because they didn't stay in it for the long term.
Yeah, so that's true. I never saw it that way. You could be a little bit behind, or you could be a little bit ahead. It's just looking at, I guess, a little research goes a long way of like when to invest into different mediums of advertisement. That's a good one. I didn't think about that one. There's one thing that I kind of always wanted to, like, for example, the audience for radio, it changes over the years. And so currently, do you think it's going to impact radio station advertisement? Because it changes so much. So I guess the question would be, how does it, when a small business owner is looking into advertising, what age range should they be targeting when it comes to radio station?
Just depends on, every station has a format. And within that format will be a certain demographic you're going to reach. Not every radio station is going to reach every demographic. So if it matches the profile, what you're doing, then you've got a good match in whatever media that you're working with. So that's important. I think in our side of the business, it's always being relevant. So we're rated, we work with Nielsen, and so it makes us strive to always look and grow the audience. And it gives us just a gauge. It doesn't always mean it's spot on in the way it's set up, but it helps us strive to try to reach or put out our message to the mass amounts of people. Because radio can't be a niche type of marketing, but it also can reach the masses. And so like with La Raza, I'm trying to reach that mass audience that's into regional Mexican music. And so whether it's my on-air personalities and the subjects they talk about, or on La Mega, reaching that more somewhat Mexican, but more Caribbean and South American community, is the message resonate with that new community? For instance, in Atlanta now, of course, we have a large Mexican community, that's still number one. We have a very fast and rapidly growing Venezuelan community, and we're aware of that. And so there's another opportunity to reach those people with new products and services that maybe they didn't have in their country. And now we've got to introduce them to that community, or we can't. And then how long will it take for them to say, hey, wait a minute, I need that? Like, not say they need it the first month or two, but maybe after being here 6 months, a year, 2 years, they're like, I need that policy. I need to have what Stay in Touch is providing. So I think with our community, because there's such a growth in immigration, and especially the Latin community, we see it continuously growing, and we just want to be able to adapt our message and be relevant. The key is being relevant in what you're doing.
Yeah, I did see that in some of the stats that I was reading about advertising. Is it relevant to maybe it could be a season? It can be, for example, with us, health insurance is a specific time of the year, towards the end of the year, November to January. So, and then like we are coming up on September for Life Insurance Awareness Month. Like those, like being, I guess as a small business owner, you have to be in the look, I guess, for relevancy of what you're doing to the time and who you're trying to target. But so I know you have quite a bit of clients, it's not just us. I think it would be good for our listeners and our small businesses, like, what is one success story that you're just like, maybe they were very, very doubtful, and then they took the leap of faith, invested, and then, you guys are very good at staying in communication with your clients. You guys visit us all the time, and we love that. We actually became somewhat kind of family because you and the boss, all being from Miami, there's a lot of connections. And so, what's another story besides In Touch that you were like, wow, it's a good investment?
Sure, I have a lot of stories of people that we've introduced to the community. And again, it's like what I said earlier, is if you're in it for the long run, you will win. And we've helped in the automotive business, we've helped with the law firms, we've helped with retailers, we've helped with in the medical profession, grow these businesses. And I think the key is when you're working with credible people too, that helps tremendously, because that's the part you guys do, we don't. We're just the voice of communication. We'll guide you on how to put that message out there and what will possibly work or not work. But when we love working with a lot of the clients we have, they're credible clients. And so we know that all we have to do is put the message out there, and it's going to grow, because it becomes a partnership. And so when you're working with people like that, it's fantastic. But over the years, I could give, I guess, many specific names, but just here in Atlanta, I've done with a number of all those different categories where we've been with these people for years and years and years. And I think I've got a great team that constantly comes up with ideas for people. So people don't want to just know, what's your spot rate, and they want to know, what ideas do you have that are going to work, that are going to benefit me. And if we can come up with those ideas, like the festivals, we do tailgate events at some of these big soccer matches. We do some tie into some of these big concerts. What's really grown, Ariana, and what I've seen in the last, say, 5 years, is the number of Hispanic concerts, huge concerts in Atlanta. And that was never the case. We had a few. And that's where the importance of Latin media has really taken precedent, because they have been able to really be successful, especially with our stations, helping them pack these facilities out. And I'm talking State Farm, Gas South, the Mercedes-Benz, whether it's a big soccer event or what have you, where we've gotten behind all these events. And it's not been with the general market stations. These have been, I counted, I think last year there was 30 of them, 30 major, there's many others. And that never happened before when I came here in the early years, you know. We had a few concerts, but not to this magnitude. And people would say, well, let's see if it'll work or not. Now it's just almost every week, there's a different concert. And it might not just be one, there might be 4 going on. Yeah. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's having that team in radio stations, it kind of gives the business owner a little bit of a leg up on advertisement because your team is so intuitive with what is going on, like the events, the trends, everything that will help advertisement go a longer way. Because sometimes as business owners, you're like, okay, well, I want to, but what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? Like, I don't have anything no marketing experience. Like, what is gonna reach out? And your team does a great, they give you ideas. They're like, hey, based on your business, we suggest that. And then obviously it's up to the business owner to decide which way to go. But there's different avenues. And so now with radios, good, because you mentioned a little bit about it's radio stations, your FMs. You guys also do digital, so like apps and social media. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have like different packages? So like, let's say somebody wants to start maybe just digital because that's what they're used to. You guys.
We normally combine it with radio and not just sell it that way, but probably about 15, 16 years ago, we started developing the app for La Raza, and then a few years later, La Mega. And so I saw that coming, and so I didn't just join forces with one big entity. I did it on my own. Years earlier, and if you remember this, Marianne, we had bumper stickers all over Atlanta with La Raza. And the way we got those out there was we would do these special VIP parties, and people could only go to that event that night to see this incredible band, and for free, if they went to one of the remotes and they picked up a ticket to go to that event for that night. But they had to go to the remote that weekend before, and it worked incredibly well. And everything has its season. We did that. What's replaced maybe the bumper sticker, and I still would love to do it again, would be the app, where we would say, show us your app, whatever promotion we're doing. And like I said earlier, we're out on the streets a lot, and we'll say, well, show us your app, and you have win the tickets to the concert that's coming this weekend. And it's worked out tremendously because the people will make sure they download our application. Because we know that's the new radio, it's the phone. But again, we get them to listen because we're very local and everything's about what's going on here. And our music is research, it's not just guests. We have a consultant, work with that consultant as long as with my program directors to make sure we're playing the best music and entertainment. So we have that availability to be on our app. We have the availability to do a lot of different things with social media to get the message out there.
Yeah, another thing, maybe you forgot about it, but it's the Facebook Lives that you guys do with your clients. So, for example, we've had our DJ, the one that sponsors us and advertises on her show. She comes to the office. She'll have like a 15-minute live, and these DJs have a very, very big social media pool. So sometimes we might think they're like, oh, whatever, it's just radio, or maybe their website or their app. But no, it's not just that. You're also investing in that DJ with all of their following to promote your business.
Right.
And so that's something that people might not put 2 and 2 together because they're just maybe tunnel vision, but there is so much more. I mean, from our experience with Facebook Lives is, we have people interacting, and immediately, because they tag the business while we're doing the live, they start getting followings on Facebook. I think a couple DJs do maybe like Instagram Live here and there. And now you have Instagram, obviously TikTok right now. very, very popular. TikTok Live. I think TikTok themselves are actually pushing a lot of TikTok Lives, and that would also be another advertisement. So yes, it is radio signals, but it's also the people that work with it.
Sure.
And you guys have that.
Yeah, radio's the engine, and then when they get on, we do Facebook Live, things on Instagram, because they have that following, it's because they are that developed personality. Without that, then they don't have the name. And I think that's driven that, where they've developed that personality from La Raza. So when they do the social media, I see it too at the festivals with the personalities when they're in with the crowd there, and I see the reaction because they connect with the people. They relate with the people. And we're very careful that the products and services that we promote, they're credible. And so there becomes an instant trust with the radio. You know, even with some of the events, I know years past before I even got here, some events, the artists wouldn't show up. And I said, I never want to be part of promoting that event because I want to be truthful to the people. When you're truthful, you win. And so these people have developed such a connection that when they do the social media, like with In Touch, when Leslie does that, the response is incredible. But she's built that over the years and continues to build that when she does her morning show every day.
Yeah.
To gain more and more listeners.
I think they've kind of become a little bit of celebrities, influencers, big time influencers, because they're influencing all of the listeners.
Right.
To, hey, I mean, Leslie does. I do my health insurance with In Touch Financial Group, her and her whole entire family. And just saying that promotes the listeners, like, oh, well, if Leslie has it, I have it.
Right.
And so radio DJs are the OG influencers, you know. And
That's probably a better term than even calling them DJs now. That's the new buzzword. It's been around for a few years, but they're influencers.
Yeah, they are. And so I think we forget about that.
Right.
Same like your local news, you know, anchors, they influence. Like those are the original celebrities.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now, obviously, social media is...
Well, I think when you're in a market like Atlanta, like I said, it's emerging. It's very different than being run from Miami originally. So we are a growing Hispanic market, and there's so much opportunity, but yet it's not inundated with a lot of choices. And so when there's limited choices, these people start to really resonate, whether it's Joe on La Mega or Everado and on La Raza, whatever DJ or influencer that's on the air, they become very important because it's not the norm if we live maybe in a more mature Hispanic U.S. market.
Yeah, that is true. Very true. So, if you have ever thought about, you know, going back to the original, things that still work, radio station works, TV commercials, you know, like with now, I mean, back in the day, we would take commercials like, okay, run to the restroom, so you're back by the time, you know, your show starts. But now you can skip commercials, and you can pay to skip commercials. So visual, like commercials, might not be the best investment, but always like people that are listening. So, you know, you put your radio on the car and you listen while you're going to work. You listen to radio or music while you're working out, while you're cleaning. I feel like we tend to go for like the visual, but people forget about the hearing. Most people are actually listening more than what they're actually seeing. Because even at work, you're working, but you have something on. You either have a radio station or a podcast or something that you're just listening to. And like you said, if you have the right message and you capture their attention, they're like, oh, okay. So now I think small businesses should really think about listening.
Well, think of all the traffic we have here. Atlanta is
3 hours.
Incredible. You have 75, 85, 400, 20, 985. what am I missing? And I'm missing 595, 585.
316.
Yeah, 316. So you have all these different expressways, interstates, plus many other arteries within Atlanta. And so you're stuck in your car, and a lot of times for hours. And then the other thing is Atlanta for the Hispanic market is a labor intensive town. And with that labor intensive group, what are they doing? Whether it's construction, whether it's maybe in a factory, or maybe you're working in the office. So we become the companion. But I think with the high amount of traffic, we're now the sixth largest market in the country. And then the Hispanic market continues to grow and grow. Why? Because this is a great economy. Atlanta's a great economy, and so it attracts people, and it's still relatively inexpensive to live here versus some of the other major cities that are out of touch now. Plus, you can get a good job and make a great income, and it's a good place to raise a family. So that all that brings that together. But I think radio is still very relevant and will be because of that long commute. You're in your car, lots of traffic, and also we're reaching that Hispanic that's labor intensive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, whether it's, working with La Raza or working with other radio stations, because maybe your target is not the Hispanic community, you should definitely look into advertising with radio stations in your local cities. One, you keep businesses alive, and we don't take everything to just internet. There's still, you're supporting businesses because that's what radio stations are. They're local businesses at the same time. So being that local radio station and then advertising for your local community instead of trying to reach such everybody in the United States, it's good for geo. I think you guys came up with something too one time. It's like geo mapping.
Geo-targeting.
And so, all of those little things, getting with experts and asking them, is this a good idea? And then working alongside, because it becomes a partnership for years.
Right.
It is something that you guys should definitely consider. So if you were ever thinking about, where should I invest my marketing dollars, look into local radio stations in your area, see who your target audience is going to be, and then it's basically branding your business. Bring customers in, get your name out there, because, I still have so many jingles in my head from when I was little, and they're still relevant. I think that's what most people are scared of, maybe with radio station, maybe is out. But no, I think it's going to be something that's going to stick forever.
Right. Yeah, the local part, like I said at the beginning, and I think the relevance of it, and then as you see the market change, you adapt to that. You don't stay the way you were, but you also create opportunities for your clients. When they see you bring results, they're in. And I think we just have a great amount of clients that have stayed with us through the years, and we continue to add more because we've proven to them of promotions and opportunities at work. Yeah. So we come up with things that maybe, and the other beautiful thing about the Hispanic market is they respond. Do a promotion, they respond, they come out. Doesn't necessarily always work in other groups, but with the Latin market, and especially here in Atlanta, you can do a promotion. We've done some promotions where we've done a toy giveaway, and that's been the remote, and literally had several hundred people show up for that promotion. Maybe where I was before I came to Atlanta, you couldn't do that. You would get some people, but not the amount of people. And then there's such gratitude that many times they become customers of the person that has that remote going on, whether it's a telecommunication client or a grocery store or automotive deal. The gratitude is an incredible thing. So it's just like you're sharing things to give something, but the gratitude of the audience here is remarkable. And so that's, I think when you make it relevant, but you show the results, they're like, this works. But remember, when you come from another country too, and someone might not speak your language, but we do, and we're here locally, you're going to consume it more than maybe the general market. And so that's what's made this work continuously for all these years and will continue to work.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's Spanish, English, whatever language it is, we still tend to be skeptical about everything we see online. Like, is that really true? You don't know. But if you have somebody live saying it, you're more like, okay, I'm going to trust this person because they have so much. I mean, they basically they established the trust from people. Like, how would you say that? There's a word, but it just flew.
Well, there's you've been following that individual for years, and so they've entertained you, they've informed you, and so now they're getting on the air and they're telling you about a product or service, and there's never been a backlash on them about anything negative. So you know that product after product, and a lot of times these personalities might have a particular car dealer they endorse, a particular, say, supermarket they endorse. So it's a wide range of products, and then a lot of times they've been with them for years with this certain product or service. And so when you know that, you say, wow, I can trust them for whatever they're recommending. So it's not just done versus maybe online, someone who we have no idea saying, buy this. You're like, well, I don't know who you are. There's no credibility.
And even like established online influencers, they might just be lying to you and like, oh, buy this because I'm getting paid for it. And so you never know what's really genuine.
Right.
But we know that radio stations also don't want to put their names in jeopardy.
Correct.
With, taking a client just because they're trying to meet, spots in.
Right.
And so one thing I do love about La Raza and La Mega too, you guys are very strategic about placement of advertisement. Because I stopped listening to some radio stations because there was no longer any music. It was advertisement after advertisement after advertisement. And you're just like, well, I guess you're just running ads now. But that's another thing to look at. What radio station you want to work with? Do people still go there tune in to listen to music and then have like a good balance?
Right.
Where it's not so overwhelming.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the music is what attracts them.
When you're rated, you strive for excellence. And it's not that they always, maybe you might not like the ratings you get or whatever. And sometimes, like I said earlier, it can be maybe not completely what's going on in the community, but it guides you and it strives you for excellence. When you don't have that, then a media can just be a free-for-all. It can be all paid programming. It can just run as many commercials as they want because there's no protection of the product. The first thing you want to do is make sure you're entertaining. You're entertaining and you're informing. Doesn't mean you have to be a news station, but you inform the listeners, whatever it is, but interest of what they want, the community wants to hear and know. And that's what I do on La Mega and La Raza. It's what does that Hispanic listener want to hear and know living in Atlanta? So I'm not, I'm very, very focused on what appeals to, again, like I said earlier, to the masses. That's what will make the product work better. If you don't do that, then you're just buying a station that's inundated. You're hoping someone comes by, just heard during your break, your spot, but that's not what it should be. It should be where the commercials are showcased because you have such great music you're playing and you have such great entertainers, your influencers that are on the air, your DJs that are informing you, making you laugh, and you want to stay with the station. You want to come back to that station because you get all that from them. But if you're inundated with spots or a show and it's one after the other, you're like, oh my God, I got to turn this off.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's a good balance. Radio stations, they're very overlooked nowadays because of the digital marketing that has been pushed down our throats for all small businesses, which I get it. It's part of this generation. But we have to still give credit where credit's due, and everybody that started, which was radio station, they're the original influencers, the original podcasters, because they would invite celebrities and everybody for 5 minutes just to talk to them, and people would tune in for that.
Right.
So going back to the old roots, which I feel like they're ground solid roots and they're not going anywhere.
Right.
radio stations should definitely be on your radar for advertisement, especially here in the state of Georgia, with traffic and everything. And most of our local radio stations being very active with the community. It's something that all small businesses should really look into investing. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come in and inform us a little bit and bring back our true, like the origins of advertisement.
Great.
So again, we'll tune in next episode with something new to keep you guys in touch with what is available to you, all your resources and more information. So I guess till next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.